and, of course, especially the Big 12. And speaking of the Big 12, on Saturday, official, midnight on Friday, Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, and Brigham Young will be official members of the Big 12, and Chris Pezman, the AD at Houston, joins us. The Director of Athletics joins us on 365 Sports. We've been this is going to happen. It's going to happen. How much excitement, Chris, is there for you and the campus, the university, and the alums of Houston coming up this Saturday?
Ecstatic. It's hard to put, to quantify how everybody feels. As you guys have heard me say before, there's some scars here, from what happened in the past, but the response from everybody has been so overwhelming. We've sold 6,500 new season tickets, and we still have almost 8-9 weeks to go till we play football.
Mm-hmm.
We're at 92% renewed on basketball season tickets, and we're in the middle of June, and we've got till the 30th when we close out, and we went up 50% across the board on pricing, and we're still waitlisted. It's just, I use those as examples to kind of quantify the vibe from the market and the fan base and how well everybody's responded to it. What everybody's got to remember is these are the opponents in the Big 12 are ones that, they just resonate with our fans because we were in the league with a lot of those schools in the past, and they're used to seeing them and playing them and having the neighborhood rivalries where you can talk trash to your neighbor who went to Baylor or whatever. That's what everybody's so excited about and can't wait for this fall.
Chris, you mentioned the scars about getting, left out of a power conference and, the weaving that schools like yours, but yours in particular, have had to do to get to this point. How many stages of we need to get into this next level? Well, maybe it's never going to happen before it was full commitment from the university to get back on this path to get in the power conference before you did get in the Big 12.
That really it started when Renew got here, and the alignment and the visibility and the importance that she placed on athletics because she knew that the role it would have as we were trying to grow the profile of the university as a whole. And frankly, it's played out exactly the way you imagine it would. It's like a movie script from her arrival to the investment that we've made in capital to the investment in facilities to the investment we've made in coaches. As you guys have seen what we've done with Kelvin and Dana to attract that level of talent here. It's worked. And then to reconcile that with the growth of the university at the same time. I mean, shoot, when I went to school here, I graduated in 92. We were 27,000 students. We're sitting here today and we're 47,000. Those things absolutely correlate. And, that's what has helped get us to this point. And, now we got to make the most of it.
So I've noticed, and I put up graphics of all four of the incoming schools who will join the Big 12 officially, although we basically just put our arms around all four back in the fall of 2021 when the Big 12 reacted. But everybody's having these countdowns, these get-together, these events, these parties, these receptions, and much more. To me, Chris, what I love about that is everybody can't wait to get in. Even though it's been officially, really, it kind of was in the fall of 21. But do you get that same impression that you can't and neither can the others wait to get in and the conference can't wait to have you in?
Yeah, absolutely. And our peers in the conference and from the conference staff itself have been awesome from the time it became official, about 18 months ago now, to where we are today. Everybody has been just incredible partners and been very ingratiating to us. Now, we hope that continues in the fall when we start competing. But, I mean that tongue in cheek, but it's been exactly what you could hope for. And I'm thankful for it. And again, we got to make the most of this chance.
Chris Pezman, the Director of Athletics at Houston, with us on the countdown to July the 1st, entry into the Big 12 on 365 Sports.
Chris, do you ever consider it's you've planned it, you said hiring Kelvin Sampson and all that, but particularly basketball's run here is pretty excellent timing on getting people excited about buying new tickets as well, because you're not, especially in that sport, going in wondering if you're going to be good and you can compete with this level because you've made deep NCAA tournament runs for many consecutive years now.
Yeah, here's the reality. We're sold out of basketball. We have been for the last couple of years, and that was, in the American where we had some great opponents, but certainly not the strength of what we're going to have in the Big 12 game in, game out. As I mentioned, we went up 50% across the entire building in pricing, and we're at 92% renewed in the middle of the summer, and we don't play basketball for another 120 days or whatever it is. That is proof of concept. I mean, that you couldn't paint a better picture of what it means, and the success of that program and the profile that it's given us. And it's really been, it's our flag bearer as we transition into Big 12, because, if there's a program for us that's probably most ready to compete day one, I would say it's basketball. And, coach would tell you the opposite. We got to get ready for the Big 12, the game in, game out competition, but at least the infrastructure's in place. We've got great facilities. We're doing a $5 million renovation of our practice facility locker rooms this summer. That building's 6 years old, but that came because of this opportunity that the Big 12 has provided us, the enthusiasm, the excitement, and the people's willingness from our donors to buy in to support us.
You mentioned basketball as perhaps the one most ready, and obviously football has played against Big 12 teams. We know where they are, and obviously there's a lot to do there with Dana Holgorsen. Where are you athletic department-wise? How many of the sports do you feel like are ready now, and how many do you need to tweak a little bit and kind of watch how it goes the next few months or maybe the next school year?
Yeah, that's a great question. In my mind, what we've talked to our coaches about, look, if you win the Big 12 regular season or postseason title, you're probably a top 5 team in the country. And I don't think that's a stretch, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, whatever it is, softball, volleyball. If you're winning the Big 12, you're one of the top teams in the country. So what we've talked to our coaches about, and this is not defeatist, loser attitude or anything like it. It's reality. For us to go into the Big 12, let's focus on being winning programs and getting to the postseason, and then build up to compete for championships. Again, I think probably about a third of our programs are prepared to maybe compete and maybe have a chance to sniff around, playing for, at the top end of the conference. And I don't even want to say winning the conference, but, working towards that or fighting for it. I'd say about a third of them. I would tell you probably everybody else, there's going to be an acclimation period. But to me, I'm looking at them, I'm like, get to the postseason. Getting in as a G5 school, as an at-large, if you didn't win the American, it was very difficult. And we were probably, baseball got 2 teams in the tournament this year. Really should have been 1 because Tulane won their way in the tournament. And you could go across the board, whether it's volleyball, softball, those sports, that's where our mindset has to be a little bit different as we get ready for this competition for the next couple of years. I was doing a little research on this, trying to kind of make sure my expectations were grounded. You look at Utah when they went into the Pac-12, and I mean, they were as good as anybody at that point in football. It took them 5 years till they competed for the conference championship in football. I certainly I'm not that patient. I think the first couple of years, have a winning record. If you have a plus 500 record in the Big 12 and you win your non-conference games, and again, I'm talking generally, you're going to get into the postseason. You'll have a chance to be in the NCAA tournament in whatever sport it is. And that's what our initial focus needs to be as we build to compete for championships.
Chris Pezman, by the way, we have a man on the chat room that said, tell Pez, I said hello from a fellow Sigma Chi cheerleader / walk-on. He knows me. Hopefully he doesn't shout out my name.
I can think of a couple, and I'll save them from the embarrassment that they're probably trying to throw my way.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, what's this week like? Seriously, obviously it's very high octane, full throttle, but what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 right now it feels like on campus?
Oh, well, besides the fact that we're all on the surface of the sun here in Houston or in Texas this week, it's 105 outside right now, but it's as excited as I've seen this place, and I've been around this university affiliated with it since the late 80s. It's through the roof. It's literally a 10. And, we're going to do a toast Friday night at midnight. We were trying to figure out, what's the appropriate thing to do with it. It's 4th of July weekend. It's hot as hell. So, one of the good lessons that came out of the pandemic is we're like, you know what, screw it. Let's do a toast with everybody online, open it up to anybody who wants to come and have a little bit of fun with it. And we're going to have a sneak peek of our football facility that we'll break ground on after the end of the season. Right after the Oklahoma State game, we're breaking ground on a $140 million end zone facility for football.
Great.
So we'll give everybody a sneak peek to see that. We're going to have some messages in there from the commissioner and our president and chancellor. So it'll be a fun night, and it'll be a moment that we can all look back on and remember where we are when it happened. And, you know, to think that I have the opportunity to be in this role at this moment, speaking personally for a second, is just, I'm so grateful because it's such a special time.
How much has Brett Yormark, how important has he been even for Houston? Obviously for the conference with what he did with the extension back in the fall, some of these ideas about Houston and Kansas playing a basketball game in Mexico, all of this, you probably knew of him, but Bob Bowlesby was there when you were offered the invitation. How much has he blown you away, or how would you describe him?
Brett has been a breath of fresh air, and I mean that really for the industry. From a guy that's coming from the outside in, and look, I worked in sports and entertainment when I was away from this for 10 years. I was the director of operations at Reliant Park, and so I knew a lot of the people in the outside industry. And Brett's reputation has lived up. He is an outside the box thinker. The aggressiveness that he leads with, and the tone that is created for the Big 12 and as a league has been extraordinary. And you know what the value that he has placed with being able to get the TV deal done and the sequence that it has, you know, the street cred that he's gotten with that with everybody has been extraordinary. So it's given him the ideas he's had to monetize different aspects and create intellectual property for the league, whether it's the combine in Dallas for football, the efforts in Mexico, and there's some other aspects out there that we're chasing, whether it's data aggregation rights around gaming. This he's playing 3D chess is the best way I can summarize it. And he's doing a great job of it. And to have him in that leadership role for us in such a volatile time in our industry as we're working through transfer portal, NIL, all these things, we couldn't be in better hands.
You want to know where Chris Pezman gets that bulldog in him, that fight in him? He won the Wilson Whitley Fighting Heart Award back in 1992 as a player on the University of Houston football team, was a part of the team with Andre Ware that won a Heisman Trophy. And that's it. I mean, Wilson Whitley is one of the greatest defensive linemen in the history of college football. That must have meant a great deal to you.
It did. And it's you saying that now is really, I got goosebumps because it's not something that people reference a lot, but it was, I had a really special time here at the University of Houston when I was playing as an athlete. We beat everybody. I mean, probably the funnest game I had in college was beat A&M in the Dome in 1990, and they had Bucky Richardson, and for some reason they decided to start throwing the ball, and we ended up coming back, and Jenkins decided to figure out how to run the ball finally, and we just shoved it down their throat and won that game. So we had a lot of really special times here, and the ability to be here in a leadership role during this transition is one of the high points of my life.
Was that game on a Thursday night?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was one of the original Thursday night ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any particular, I know you don't want to call anybody out, but as someone who had that Southwest Conference blood in them, do you have that I can't wait to see a TCU game that counts twice as much, all that in you still?
You know what that game is.
I know which one it is. I know which one it is, but it only going to last for a year. But
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, legitimately, all of them, but the ones that are in state, you get there's a little something extra in those. And yeah, there's one in particular that we're very much looking forward to. I know our fans are especially, and I'd almost venture to tell you, Dana could go 1-11, and if he won the right one, he'd be fine.
Yeah, and that might give you an extra year of being more patient too, if that ended up being true. Last thing, Kristen, I know you've given us a lot of valuable time. This is a crazy time in college athletics with the transfer portal, NIL, and then there's realignment, and you're a part of that because of what's going to happen officially on Saturday. How much do you still monitor what else might be happening around college football with other conferences who are trying to figure out their future?
A lot. I don't know that we're done with the movement, obviously. I mean, obviously as a league, we've got our eyes open and paying attention to what's going on because there's, it feels like there's some opportunity there for us. So you can't ignore it, because if you don't keep your eyes on the horizon, something's going to jump up and bite you. And, whether it's realignment, and obviously we've felt the pains of maybe not having the ability to foresee some things that were coming, 30 years ago. So, that's a lesson that I carry forward to this day. So make sure you're paying attention to what's going on nationally, because you just don't want to be surprised if there's some movement that's occurring. And frankly, that carried over for me as we were working through realignment. Candidly, when I first got here, I thought the opportunities were going to be further west. I didn't see the Texas OU thing coming when it did. I thought maybe it was further out. I thought there would be opportunity in the Pac-12 just because they were kind of landlocked geographically from time zones, and it felt like they needed to get into a more central market time zone to be able to expand on their TV deal and the offerings that they would be able to provide the next time the TV deal opens. And then, it worked out for us that there was a vacuum created when Texas and OU left, and allowed us to help fill that void. And that's frankly all we were looking for, is just give us a chance. Let us get in the room and tell the story of what we've achieved. And fortunately, it played out the right way. But you better be paying attention to what's happening, because things are moving at a pretty brisk clip. And if we don't pay attention, we're going to get got, and that's not going to happen on my watch.
Yeah, it's all about growing and being ready to make whatever move you can if it's available. Chris, thank you for a lot of time. Can't wait for you to be able to celebrate late into the night on Friday. Enjoy the entrance into the Big 12. You've been great to be a part of our show. We appreciate it. We look forward to having more and more segments with those from the University of Houston throughout the next few weeks and months as well. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, fellas. I really appreciate it. And again, this is something I really enjoy. So anytime, give me a call. I'm happy to be on, and we're so excited to be where we are, and can't wait for it to officially be Saturday so we can just keep on chugging ahead and get ready for the fall.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Enjoy the week. Enjoy Saturday, midnight on Friday. That's Chris Pezman. That's a really